Hello everyone and welcome to our training today. Today we are talking about your state's response to the coronavirus and what it means for your small business. We are going to dive into every one of the 50 states. We're going to talk about what's going on with funding available in your state, whether they are deferring to SBA, whether they have special funding. So this will be where we start. I will then also guide you to our blog post where we're giving real-time updates so you can keep an eye on what's happening in your state. Okay, so by the end of this, you're going to know exactly how you can get funding to make it through this crisis depending on the actual state that you're in. We'll be talking about SBA and what you could do with the SBA system. We're also going to talk about individual options that your state has that you'll know by the end of this, and you're also going to know what status your state is in when it comes to them applying or giving the ability to apply for SBA, so you'll know the next steps to take to be able to get money to get through this crisis. Okay, for those that don't know me, my name is Ty Crandall. I'm actually CEO here at Credit Suite, and this is what we help business owners do, is get capital to survive things like what's happening right now. So if we can help you along the way, feel free to give us a ring, 877-600-2487. Feel free to send us an email, info@creditsuite.com, or get approved online at creditsuite.com/get funding. I will make sure that the get funding link is at the bottom of our actual slides. Okay, so first of all, business in the United States has changed. Okay, a lot of things are dramatically changing right now as a result of what's going on. Okay, right now business owners are more scared than ever before and unsure of what to do. Okay, it's a time to be wondering about how to survive and thrive, but you can if you have access to the capital you need to be able to do so. So I don't need to tell you everything that's happening, right? Everything from sports challenges, states are already closing restaurants, taverns. Okay, here gyms are closed. A lot of things are happening across the United States. What's happening in your state is different day to day, as you already know. Okay, but what it comes down to is getting the capital you need to make it through this. So bailouts. States are stepping up their game. They're offering funds or tax relief to help you through it, and some may be offering even extensions on debts. But the details are continuously changing, which is why I wanted to do this state-by-state look at the type of money that's available for you right now. States which did not have a plan drafted while this presentation was being written may have a plan in place by now, and this is why I'm going to direct you to our blog at creditsuite.com/blog, where we are going to have this topic be a blog post that in real time we are updating when these states have differences or changes from what you're going to learn in this video training. Now, you also want to check your state government websites for details and updates as well. But again, we're going to try to give you all states in one place to make it easy for you to be able to get the state-by-state assessment of what's going on. Let me talk about SBA funding, because as you're going to see here, most states in the United States do not have individual loans that will help you. They are deferring to the SBA system. So I want to start right there. Let's talk about an overview of where SBA funding is right now as of today, because a lot of the states are relying on SBA funding to pull you through instead of some other states like Florida that has individual loans that can help pull you through on top of SBA funding. So a lot of people may qualify for SBA disaster relief loans. Here's what you need to know. To get these loans, it's about 2.75% interest for nonprofits. It's 3.75% for profit companies. Terms up to 30 years. One of the big changes with these loans versus normal SBA loans is you only need to supply 1 year's financials instead of 3 years financials. But you have to be careful, because a lot of lenders are still going to require that you supply 3 years worth of financials, even though that's not the actual requirement from SBA. One of the big differences with these SBA disaster loans is they're not looking at the historical growth of your revenue and profits like they do with normal SBA loans. Normally, SBA wants 3 years tax returns. They review those tax returns, and then those tax returns are what are actually used to then be able to determine if you should qualify or not. But with the SBA disaster loans, they're only looking at the last year of what's going on in your business. So it makes it much easier for you to actually be able to come in and get the financing that you need. Okay, you're able to come in and qualify for the last year versus 3 years. And it's also nice because these loans are designed for reduced revenue, reduced sales, increased expenses, increased cost. Normal SBA loans don't work this way. Okay, normal SBA loans, they want you to get the money and use it for growth, use it for buying new software, using it for executing or implementing a new marketing plan. But these SBA disaster loans specifically take into account the purpose for the funds to be for things like payroll, paying your bills, cover reduced revenue and sales, or cover the increase of expenses and cost. These loans are specifically designed for this purpose. And here's why this matters, because normal SBA loans don't have these kind of things as acceptable uses of funds. So SBA loans are one of the kind of loans that you have to really state what you're using the actual money for. Okay, and if you don't state what you're using the money for, or if the money that you're trying to get doesn't fit, then the problem there is that you can't get approved. But with these, they're taking into account reduced revenue, reduced sales, increased expenses and cost. These are the kind of things that they anticipate you're going to need the money for. Now you need to be careful though, because they have near normal underwriting guidelines for these loans. Okay, and what I mean by that is I mean that you're still going to have cash flow over that last year. You're going to have a year's worth of tax returns. You're going to have good personal credit without any recent derogatory items on there. You're going to need to have you're going to need to have collateral of some sort, whether it be your home or account receivables or something else in the business. Now, you can sometimes get around the collateral requirement if your loan amount is under $350,000, but if it's not under $350,000, then you are in a position where you need to make sure that you have collateral. So I recommend you go for an SBA Express loan. Keep your loan amount under $350,000. That's going to help you get the money the fastest, but you're still going to have to fit the normal requirements. And you've got to have business credit to get approved. If you don't have business credit to get approved, then you want to make sure that you're giving us a call, okay? Because you have to have business credit in order for you to actually be able to succeed to get SBA. And the reason for that is SBA uses a score called the FICO Small Business Score, okay? And the FICO Small Business Score looks at business credit first. So if you don't have your business credit established, then what will happen is you'll be in a position where you are not able to get approved for the SBA loan. So if you don't have business credit established yet, then get with us to build your business credit. We'll help you build your business credit and get your initial credit profile established and get you a good score while you're applying for the SBA loan. But you need to know that if you're applying for an SBA loan or an SBA disaster loan, you've got to have business credit scores established, or you're not going to have a score high enough with FICO to get approved. Now, the nice thing is we can do this at exactly the same time you're applying for SBA loans. You also should know that if this doesn't fit you and none of the state-by-state options work for you, there's a lot of other cash flow that's available. If you go to youtube.com/credit suite, we covered over an hour of a bunch of different other unique funding options that will work for you yesterday. I don't have time to dive into all that today. This is the longest PowerPoint presentation I've ever done because I've got 50 different states to go over, but there's a lot of alternative options for you as well. As a matter of fact, I think I am going to go ahead really quick, and I'm going to go ahead, when I get to the states, I'm going to end this presentation, and I am then going to start this new presentation. And I'm going to do that because this will have our phone number. So if we can help you when it comes to the actual, when it comes to getting business credit, you have our phone number on the bottom of the slides, which they weren't on the bottom of the other slides. So there's our phone number, 877-600-2487. If we can help you access any of these additional options to get capital, all you have to do is let us know and we will do so. Okay, and we can also help you with the business credit building as well. Okay, and James says, Strong Island, New York. Hey, wait, thanks for coming in. And top of the day to you, Mr. Crowder. Top of the day to you, so thanks for coming in. So let's dive in. We've got a lot of stuff to go over, so I'm going to kind of do it this way. I'm going to not do it bullet by bullet. I'm going to pull up all the information and the links that you need to so you can take a screenshot if you are in this state. If you're not in the state, that's okay. You still want to watch this because by knowing what every other state is doing right now, you can get an idea of what to recommend to the bureaucrats in your state so they can roll it out, or you have an idea of what may be coming in your state when you see how other states are dealing with this crisis. So as of March 13th, Governor Kay Ivy declared a state of emergency in Alabama. The governor submitted a request to the SBA for economic injury disaster loans. Here is the link you can actually go to get the specifics of this. So here's what this means. There are different states in different states with different states. I said states two different ways is how I meant it there, and I'll keep it that way. There are different states that are in different states of applying for SBA loans. There are ones that have yet not even applied to get these disaster relief loans access. There are ones that have already applied or in the process of being accepted and being approved, and there are others out there that have not done this, that have not or that have already been approved. Okay, so again, in the last 24 or 48 hours, your state may have changed a little. This is why I'm going to revert you to our blog post at creditsuite.com/blog, because on our blog, we will have real-time updates on this, because some states will make the transition from applying to actually getting approved. So again, there are 3 states here. There are the state of I didn't apply at all. Okay, I'm not even going to use the word states. I'm going to replace it so it's not confusing here. There is the status of the state never even applied for SBA relief. There is the status that they did apply and they're waiting to get approved. There is the status that they have already been approved. So you're going to see that in each state, I'm going to reference one of those 3. In this case, they submitted a request to get access to SBA for economic injury disaster loans. What this means is it means that in Alabama, they are waiting to be approved. Once they are approved, you can then apply for the SBA loans in that state, and there's a link that you can actually go through to get approved. Now, in mid-March, Governor Mike Dunphy, I'm not even going to say the governor's names on these because they're a little hard to pronounce, announced the creation of an Alaska Economic Stabilization Team. Now, a bipartisan group of leaders will work with the administration on a plan to protect the state's economy from the impact of the coronavirus. So they are going to develop a unique strategy in Alaska beyond just SBA loans. Okay, the group will be led by the former Governor Sean Perrill and the former U.S. Senator Mark Bigish. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names moving forward. The remaining seats will be filled by cross-sections of their economic leaders. So they are going to be a state that they have not yet, but they are going to be coming up with specific relief to businesses in their state beyond just what SBA is. They're putting together the task force to do this, but as of now, they have not done this. My expectation is that if you are in this state, I'm not going to obviously tell you the whole long URL that you would experience or that you're going to see on these slides. I will let you take a quick picture of that. Not let you, but you should take a quick picture of that, so then you can visit them directly to get a more real, an even current, or an even more recent update as of today, or visit our blog. Okay, now in Arizona, the Arizona Department of Health Services has allowed ADHS to waive licensing requirements to provide healthcare officials with assistance in delivering services during times of heightened demand. Okay, so they're making it easier for people in that industry to be able to service people that are affected. Now, the governor has communicated with SBA seeking an economic injury disaster loan declaration. So Arizona has applied to be able to get you SBA loans, okay, and to get the main SBA loans that we talked about in the beginning, but as of this, they have not yet been approved. Okay, in Arkansas, they've also declared a state of emergency, okay, and what they are doing is they're doing about this novel coronavirus. On March 11th, they declared a state of emergency. The governor put in a request to get the SBA disaster loans. So they are not have any specific state funding in Arkansas yet, and they haven't put together a task force to do anything state specific. They are relying on the SBA system. And again, very important, distinguish here. Okay, you're going to find that some states are doing nothing. All they're doing is relying on the federal government's SBA system to fix this, and other states are coming up with task force to develop their own plans. Other states like Florida have already discovered their own plans. So that being said, a lot of these are definitely going to be different depending on the state that you are in. Let's talk about California. The city of San Francisco has started the Small Business Resiliency Fund. To be eligible for that resiliency fund, you must have at least one employee, no more than 5 employees, demonstrate a loss of revenue of 25% or more, have less than $2.5 million in gross receipts, less than that, be engaged in activities regulated by the city and county of San Francisco, and have a license permit associated to that regulation. And there's a link where you can learn a little bit more about that city. Now, in California, employers experiencing a hardship as a result of this may request up to a 60-day extension of time from the EDD to file their state payroll reports and or deposit state payroll taxes without penalty or interest. So in California, they're letting you go through a 60-day time period where you don't have to worry about paying these state payroll taxes. They're basically creating a lag between when you have to pay the taxes. That's one of the ways they're responding to this. Now, a written request for the extension must be received within 60 days from the original delinquent date. So you're on a timeline here, and there's a link where you can go to actually apply and learn more. Now, Colorado. In Colorado, the Pikes Peak SBDC is the lead for statewide disaster preparedness efforts. In response to this, the Colorado government offers work sharing, an alternative to laying off employees. Requirements and qualifications for employers: you have to have reduced normal weekly hours by at least 10%, but by no more than 40%. The reduction must affect at least 2 of all employees in the business, or a minimum of 2 employees in a certain unit. You must have paid as much as in premiums as we paid your former employees in unemployment insurance benefits. And if you meet those requirements, then you may be able to get approved in Colorado. And there's a couple very important links if you're in Colorado that you want to take a picture of that will give you ongoing information about the disaster relief in your state. Connecticut. Okay, they may put in the request to begin offering these disaster relief loans to Connecticut small business and nonprofits. Again, the Maine SBA loans we talked about. Companies in the state can now apply for loans up to $2 million through a special page on the SBA website. Blah, blah, blah. What this means is this. Anytime the state references that they're getting you up to $2 million and they're giving you a link to SBA, all they're saying is we're not going to do anything specific in this state when it comes to loans, etc. We are going to push you to the SBA system, as I've mentioned many times. So what they're saying is that you can now qualify for the SBA loans we talked about in the very beginning of this training. Now in Delaware, they also went in and applied to get the SBA economic injury the economic injury declaration that's needed to get these SBA loans. Okay, that's what will make these loans available to small business and nonprofit organizations in Newcastle, Kent, and Sussex counties. So in Delaware, they are working within these counties to get them approved for the Maine SBA loans. No state-specific funding, but again, you are able to get access to the Maine SBA loans. The Florida Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program is currently available to small business owners in all Florida counties statewide that experience economic damage as a result of this. These are short-term, interest-free working capital loans that are intended to bridge the gap between the time a major catastrophe hits and when a business has secured longer-term recovery resources. This is brilliant. I love Florida and I love living in Florida. What Florida's done is give you a $50,000 small business loan that's interest-free. Okay, now what's nice about that is they're smart enough to know that that's not going to help a lot of businesses survive this. They're creating it as a bridge loan, is what we call it. It's basically a loan to bridge the gap. They know that it's going to take you months to get approved with SBA, a month to many months. So what they're doing is giving you $50,000 interest-free loan to get you through that gap, to get you through that time period that you're waiting for the Maine SBA funds to come in. Now, loans made under this program are short-term debt loans made by the state of Florida using public funds. They are not grants. What that means, these is not free money. I hear a lot of people right now thinking that the government's going to bail them out and give them free money. That's not the way the system's going to work. Even if you get approved for SBA loans, you have to pay these disaster loans back. Okay, the interest rate's cheaper. It's 3.75%, 3.75% is what I told you earlier, compared to a normal 7 to 10% interest rate on an SBA loan, but you still have to pay them back. As a matter of fact, SBA is even talking about waiving the interest completely on these loans, and there's already been talk that that could be happening this week, down to 0%. You could even get away with the fees if you're a veteran or you're borrowing under $1 million. Okay, but the bottom line is this is money that has to be paid back. It's not a gift. It's not a grant. So Florida is a state that's offering a unique loan in the state for $50,000 to help you get through this. Georgia, okay, they also declared a public emergency. They have already qualified for SBA loans. They didn't just submit the request, they are approved. So if you are in Georgia, you can absolutely be moving forward right now and applying for these SBA loans. And I've given you 2 links that will give you the up-to-date information. Which brings up another question. How do you apply for the SBA loans? Well, you can go to creditsuite.com/get funding, fill in a handful of questions, and we will talk to you a little bit more and determine the best lenders that will help you depending on the kind of SBA loan that you may qualify for. We may even direct you to all other kind of financing if an SBA loan doesn't work for you. So if you don't have good credit, cash flow, collateral, all the things that are needed to get SBA, we have a lot of other unique funding that may work for you instead. So for example, we have $150,000 worth of credit lines, 0% rate that you can get even as a startup business if you have good credit or a good credit guarantor. We may help you get that kind of funding instead of SBA if you don't qualify, or we may actually help you come in and get SBA funding or get that funding on top of SBA even if you do qualify, okay? So again, what it really comes down to is it comes down to what you qualify for and what you don't. SBA qualifications aren't much more lenient than they've ever been. So there may be other funding that works for you a little bit better, but Georgia is a state that has now been approved. Hawaii, House Resolution number 54 established the House Select Committee on the Coronavirus Economic and Financial Preparedness. The committee will work with representatives from local and state government, private industry, and nonprofit organizations to inform the House of Representatives on the state's economic and financial preparedness. The Select Committee is tasked with examining economic and financial issues, including identifying the potential economic and financial impact to the state, talking about short-term and long-term mitigation plans, and monitoring what's going on with the virus and outcomes. Due to Hawaii's unique position in reliance on tourism, it's expected this committee's mandate will be broadened. So again, they have a whole task force that's designed to create a way to help businesses in their state. This is big in Hawaii and it's big on Florida because we're tourist states. So we are getting clobbered right now. Okay, for example, I don't pay state tax in Florida. I don't pay state tax because we make our money on tourism. So states like Hawaii and Florida are really impacted, and that's why they have these kind of bridge loans and these committees being created to try to provide even additional relief to businesses in our state, because so much of our state is based on tourism, and what we're doing here is based on tourism. So I've got some comments coming in, so I just want to make sure I'm in Florida, own an insurance company. I would like to know what's available. We've talked about this, but Triple, what's interesting about insurance is there's something called Book of Business Financing that you should be aware of. Insurance agencies have access to something called BOB, Book of Business Financing. You could borrow against your existing book of business and get a very low interest long-term loan. As a matter of fact, it's one of the only kind of loans I've ever seen in all my years of lending that people usually take less money than they're approved for because the approvals are very high. So that's an industry-specific loan that can help you, and we talked about what's available in Florida regarding loans and SBA as well. Okay, and 70 says, I went on SBA and the page was not found. However, the page is now under construction. They could be working on that. If you email us, info@creditsuite.com, we'll get you an up-to-date link as well. And Luke says, sorry I'm late. I'm in the Nashville, Tennessee area and own a double-decker pizza bus. That's awesome. I have $13K in personal credit card. Wondering how I might be able to put that debt into the business's name. Well, I'm going to talk to you here in a minute about Tennessee and what funding is available in Tennessee. But the easiest way to do that is give us a call, 877-600-2487. We can help you get, for example, with one program, up to $150,000 in credit lines that report on your business credit reports, not your personal. You can roll the debt from personal to business where it's supposed to be. It gets off your personal reports, your personal scores go up, and it gives you the ability to obtain even more funding by moving that debt to your business name and helping you build business credit at the same time. Let's talk about Idaho. They've also declared a state of emergency. The governor also created the coronavirus working group that meets at least weekly to support the work of Idaho's public health agencies and increase coordination and communication around the many aspects of this, what's going on. The Joint Finance Appropriations Committee approved Governor Brad Little's request to transfer $2 million to the governor's emergency fund to help in Idaho's response. However, these funds do not appear to be earmarked for small businesses. So they're making moves in Idaho, and I'm surprised Idaho hasn't come up with any state-specific funding yet because they're very big on small businesses. Okay, but the bottom line is that they are making moves. It's just they have not earmarked any funds directly for small businesses, which means if you're in Idaho, you're going to rely on SBA's Maine program. Okay, so in Illinois, they issued a disaster proclamation as well, giving the state access to federal and state resources to combat the virus. Okay, the state of Illinois is also releasing recommendations for an infectious disease outbreak response plan, but they have also not developed any unique funding in Illinois. If you're in that state, you are able to get the Maine SBA loans we talked about up to $2 million, but they don't have any state-specific funding for you there as of yet. Okay, now in Indiana, where I'm from originally, I am an actual Hoosier, born and raised. Okay, they have actually are doing the same thing, closing a lot of restaurants, bars, etc. Okay, they are also recommending that you are able to come in and get approved for SBA loans. So you're able to apply for the loans through SBA, but they're really not coming in and doing a lot of stuff that's specific to small businesses. They just issued a disaster declaration and were approved to issue SBA loans. So you can get the Maine SBA loans in Indiana, but Indiana is not offering anything that is state specific that will help you. They're leading you or guiding you to the Maine SBA loans. Now, Iowa is encouraging employers to participate in a voluntary work sharing arrangement. This is an alternative to layoffs. So employer accounts will not be charged for benefits paid under the VSW program directly or indirectly related to this virus. So look, if you are in a position where you may need to lay off people, you should also know there's a difference between laying somebody off and furloughing somebody. If you're not familiar with furloughing, you should look into furloughing. Furloughing allows you an opportunity, for example, over 2 months to still have that employee get unemployment, okay, but you can still hire them back and bring them back. It's an easier way to tell somebody, we don't need you right now the next couple months, but we may need you and we may want to hire you back, where they still get the benefit of unemployment. If you have unemployment insurance like a lot of us do, then it won't cost you money and you still have the ability to easily bring them back. So one more thing I want to expand as we just finished talking about Iowa. Now in Kansas, okay, they declared a state of emergency. The governor's also temporarily prohibited utility and internet discounts. Okay, so there's some other things going on in Kansas right now, but in Kansas, you can currently get the Maine SBA loans that are available, up to $2 million. Okay, 3 3/4% rates for for-profits. That'll give you a payment of about $1,620 a month on a $350,000 loan. You can get that in Kansas right now, but they're not doing any kind of state-specific financing. It's just you're going to be reliant on the Maine SBA financing that we talked about in the beginning here. Okay, they've also declared a state of emergency in Kentucky. Public-facing facilities can only stay open if 6-foot minimum social distancing is possible. The Commonwealth's also provided guidelines for correctional facilities, so a lot's changing there, but they are the same. Okay, they are coming in and they have actually filled out an application to get the SBA loan. So if you're in Kentucky, you should be able to, if not right now today, get the Maine SBA loans. If you have questions, give us a ring or apply at creditsuite.com/getfunding. But they're not going to have state-specific funding in Kentucky. They are coming in and allowing you to get the SBA loans that we've been talking about throughout this, where you can get approved for up to $2 million with them. So Louisiana, there's a declaration with them and a declaration of emergency that they have filed as well. Okay, so legal deadlines were postponed until at least April 13th. Driver's license expiration dates were postponed until May 20th. So no specific stunt funding available for business owners yet, but you can get the Maine SBA loans in Louisiana, and they are doing some other things like this to help ease the burden and make it a little bit easier for you to get through this. Now, Maine's a little bit different. In Maine, okay, Janet Mills and the Maine Department of Health and Human Services took immediate steps to ensure access to critical services and benefits for Maine people while protecting the health employees during this crisis. Okay, they will waive all copays for prescriptions, office visits, emergency department visits, radiology and lab cab services during this time. All Bureau of Motor Vehicle offices are closed until further notice. The SBA has also approved Maine their application for SBA economic injury disaster loans to help them. So if you are in Maine, you are approved to apply for SBA loans. Now, they're not giving state-specific funding, but you do have the ability to apply for up to $2 million with SBA's Maine loans that we've talked about throughout in the beginning of our presentation today and beginning of our training. So in Maryland, they've also declared a state of emergency, okay, and governor also announced significant reductions in local and commuter bus, light rail services to slow the spread as well. They're doing a lot of other things, but the most important thing here is that they are not yet approved at the time of doing this for the SBA loans, but they will be. So you need to make sure, because they claimed a state of emergency, that if you're in Maryland, you should be able to apply short-term or in a short term or short period of time for SBA loans, but not yet. Now, if an employee receives unemployment benefits as a result of coronavirus-related business shutdown, the employer's unemployment taxes could increase with Maryland, something you should know. Unemployment benefits are proportionately charged to each employer based on weeks worked and wages earned in each individual's base period, and contributory employees could see an increase in their tax rate, which would result in even higher taxes. So Maryland, not nice, Maryland. You're raising people's taxes. Everybody else is lowering them. Reimbursing employers will not be charged dollar for benefits paid, so as to not the higher than expected unemployment cost. The governor has applied for disaster relief loans. As you can see, you're slow, Maryland. Maryland's applying on the 19th of March to get these disaster loans that many other states were applying for the week before. So because of that, it's longer before you can apply for SBA's Maine relief program, because Maryland has been delayed in their actual response to this and delayed in applying for the disaster relief loans, at least delayed compared to other states. Now, Massachusetts, love you, Massachusetts, because you're doing some cool things here. So Governor Charlie Baker announced a $10 million small business recovery loan fund to help companies struggling because of efforts to slow the coronavirus. The fund will provide emergency capital up to $75,000 to Massachusetts-based businesses with under 50 and full and part-time employees, including nonprofits. Loans are immediately available to eligible businesses with no payments due for the first 6 months. Thank you, Massachusetts, and I have no idea why every other state isn't following suit. It's frustrating to me as a business owner that they're not, because states like Florida, states like Massachusetts, you can see here, have set aside money specifically to help small businesses, where you can get a loan in Massachusetts up to $75,000 and not even pay payments for the first 6 months to help you through the virus. That's something that could really make an impact. Instead of so many of these other states deflecting to SBA to solve the problem, the state is getting together and creating these bridge loans to help you solve the problem as well. So I'm a really big fan of what's going on right there. Now, Luke says, nope. No, actually, I don't have any other comments come in, so just wanted to give an update. So Massachusetts, loans up to $75,000 if you're in that state now. Okay, now, in Michigan, they have temporarily expanded eligibility for unemployment benefits. Benefits are extended to workers with an unanticipated family care responsibility, including those with child care responsibilities due to school closures. Workers who are sick, quarantined, or immunocompromised. I can have all kinds of words that are tough to pronounce today. And first responders in the public health community. So they are making it easier for employees to get unemployment benefits in Michigan, which will help if your employees, if you unfortunately need to lay anybody off. But remember, we talked about furloughing employees too, which is another great alternative. Now, load restrictions are suspended for deliveries that meet immediate needs for medical supplies, equipment, etc., things like that, supplies and equipment necessary for this, food for emergency relief. The bottom line is they've removed the load restriction. So now trucks are able to carry heavier loads if you're working with any of these kind of things. So if you're in the transportation in Michigan, something else you should definitely know, and a link there where you're able to come in and look a little bit more about that. Now, again, they also declared a state of emergency to get SBA loans. So in the Small Business Association of Michigan is encouraging the state to use the business interruption insurance system to help those affected as well. Under the proposal, businesses could apply for reimbursement from the state for the Michigan Strategic Fund. It would be proposed through the existing business interruption insurance system or the Michigan Department of Insurance and Financial Services. So Michigan is also relying on an insurance system they have that can help you during this time. So you can get the SBA loans through them because on March 17th they applied for SBA loans. Not yet. You should be approved shortly. But remember, at Michigan, like many others we've talked about, have applied a week after a lot of other states were coming in here and applying. So you're not ready to get SBA loans with Michigan yet. You will be, but they're also now going to be relying on this business interruption insurance system to be able to help offset your losses as well in Michigan. Now in Minnesota, okay, on March 13th, the governor declared a peacetime emergency. Several places of public accommodation are closed. A lot of things, right? So we already know that those things are happening. But Minnesota, for businesses which must lay off workers, the governor ordered that the Minnesota Unemployment Insurance Program not use unemployment benefits paid as a result of this in computing the future unemployment tax rate of a taxpayer employer. So it should help you with taxes even if you need to actually put your customers lay some of your team members off. So they're making it easier for your team members to get unemployment and making it easier for you to pay less taxes in Minnesota. And again, they're late to apply for SBA, so you will be able to get SBA funds in this state, but you're not going to be able to get state-specific funds in this state like some of the other states that we've looked at so far. So with Mississippi, they've also declared a state of emergency. Their courts are restricting the size of gatherings, and a lot of other things are happening. Utility shutoffs are prohibited for the next 60 days. So utilities cannot be shut off in Mississippi as a result of what's going on. Okay, and as of March 18th, the state became eligible for SBA disaster funds. So you can apply for SBA's main loans, okay, and their disaster relief loans in Minnesota. Okay, right now you can do that because they have already been approved. Now Missouri, on March 13th, they declared an emergency as well. The governor also directed the Missouri State Emergency Management Agency and the Missouri Department of Economic Development to seek assistance for Missouri businesses through the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Program. Basically, all they're saying is that you, like many others, need to rely on SBA's main disaster relief programs. So since we're about halfway through here, let me touch again on what those programs are. When it comes to disaster relief loans through SBA, as a reminder, these loans go up to $2 million. Underwriting time could take 2 to 6 months. If you want a faster underwriting time, you want to get into SBA's Express system, which is keeping your loan under $350,000. With SBA's main disaster relief loans, rates are available to 3.75% for for-profit companies, 2.75% for nonprofit companies, veterans with businesses under $1 million. The fee is actually getting waived with SBA. To give you an idea, if you're borrowing $350,000 on a loan term up to 30 years, which you could do with these disaster loans, your payment would be about $1,620 a month. I just wanted to kind of give you an update again. If you're in a state here in Missouri that doesn't have any specific things they're going to do for you, they're going to guide you to that SBA's main system, then that's exactly how that works. So on Montana, on March 17th, the state became eligible for the disaster relief loan. So if you are in Montana, you are already able to apply for the SBA disaster relief loans. Remember, if you're trying to apply for SBA disaster relief loans, you can go right to SBA and find a bank and apply there, or just give us a ring at 877-600-2487, creditsuite.com/get funding to get approved. We can direct you to an SBA lender or an SBA disaster relief lender as well. Okay, so in Nebraska, they also declared a state of emergency, and as of the 17th of March, the governor issued an executive order to loosen unemployment eligibility requirements to make it easier for your employees to be able to file for unemployment. Okay, and they are also now eligible for these SBA loans. So they're not going to give you any state-specific funding, but you are now eligible to apply for SBA's main loans that we've been talking about throughout today's presentation. Okay, now, on March 17th, Nevada, They had a mandatory shutdown of non-essential businesses, including casinos, for 30 days. The Gaming Control Board offered procedures for closing casinos as well. Low interest loans will be available from the SBA for businesses to address debt, payroll, or other bills. So again, they are directing you to the main SBA loans offered nationwide, not any state-specific funding, nor do they have a task force created where it looks like they will do that. In New Hampshire, okay, the governor there banned all landlords from starting eviction proceedings and prohibited all foreclosures during the state of emergency that's taking place right now. He also barred utilities, electric, gas, water, telephone, cable, fuel, and internet providers from disconnecting any service for non-payment during their current state of emergency. And New Hampshire small businesses are now currently eligible for SBA loans. So you can apply for the nationwide or the national SBA loan program, their disaster relief that we've talked about, but they don't have any state-specific funding. So some pretty good things here. They can't evict you. They can't foreclose. Okay, utility companies can't shut you off, but no state-specific funding. You're going to have to rely on the actual main SBA system to get approved. Now, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority has a portfolio of loan, financing, and technical assistance programs available to support small and medium-sized businesses if you're in New Jersey. Now, currently, several state agencies are currently engaging with local businesses, leaders, local financial institutions, and business advocacy groups to better understand what supports would be most impactful to ensure businesses and employment continue. So several things happening here. They have an economic development authority that has a portfolio already of financing options that could work for you specifically if you're in New Jersey. On top of that, they've also put together a task force to find even more ways to help businesses that are affected in your state. Okay, so in New Mexico, they have qualified for the SBA Disaster Loan Assistance Program. So if you're in New Mexico, you can now apply to get the low-interest federal disaster loans up to $2 million if you are in New Mexico. Remember, as I've talked about in the beginning and throughout, there's a couple different options here. Okay, what we've seen so far going through more than half of the states is we've seen some states that are making it very easy for you to get away from unemployment taxes or make it easy for your team members to get unemployment easier than it's been before. We see states that are creating task forces to find more creative ways to help small businesses. We see states like Florida that offers a $50,000 interest-free loan, or states like Massachusetts that offer a $75,000 loan where you pay no payments for 60 days. These are bridge loans that will help you get the money you need long-term from SBA, but give you the money short-term to get you through as well. And we've got other states that were late and they're just applying for the disaster relief, so you're not even able yet to apply for SBA. So we've seen a lot of different responses, but they're kind of almost starting to get categorized here on what these states are doing. They either have local loans, which very few do. So far, we're to New Mexico, and we've only seen two, really. Florida and Massachusetts have the best. We've also come in and we've also seen it make it easier on unemployment. We've seen states that refuse to let people foreclose or kick you out or evict you. We've seen a lot of other states come in and even make it where they can't shut off your utilities during this time. So a lot of interesting responses here. Okay, in New York, okay, they announced the city will provide relief for small businesses across the city, seeing a reduction in revenue. Businesses with fewer than 100 employees who have seen a sales decrease of 25% or more will be eligible for zero interest loans of up to $75,000 to help mitigate losses in profit. Now, again, these are called bridge loans. These are designed to bridge the gap between you getting longer term funding like national SBA loans. Again, if you get this, you could still get SBA's main loan. So you can still apply in Massachusetts, in New York, in Florida. You can still apply to get these zero interest loans, and you can still get the SBA loans up to $2 million as well. So multiple options, but so far up to New York. We've seen Florida, we've seen Massachusetts, we've seen New York come up with $50,000 to $75,000 loans that are interest free to help you through this time. These are the states that have actually really specific financing to help you if you are in those states. Okay, now they also call for the establishment of an $890 million small business emergency assistance fund on top of that. The The $890 million would come from the state settlement funds that are currently earmarked for use during economic uncertainty. So they're setting aside nearly $1 billion to help businesses in New York, as again we've seen Massachusetts and Florida do as well. Okay, now in North Carolina, the governor's lifted some restrictions on unemployment benefits, help workers unemployed during this time. Okay, additionally adds benefit eligibility for those those out of work because they have the virus or must care for someone who's sick. Okay, and you are eligible for the National Disaster Relief loans if you are in North Carolina currently. You are eligible for those loans. North Dakota. Okay, North Dakota is seeking eligibility. Not yet approved, but they are seeking eligibility for the disaster relief loans. You have to fill out an economic injury worksheet that will then help them qualify in the state, but we've seen no state-specific funding yet in North Carolina, but you are not eligible yet, but soon will be eligible for the national SBA loans as well. Now in Ohio, the Ohio Department of Health prohibits mass gatherings of 100 people. I'm not even going to get into a lot of that. It's estimated that about 1,400 small businesses in Ohio will qualify for actual funding with them. And you can see some links there. But again, they do not have any kind of state-specific funding. They are coming in and they are offering the Maine SBA loans up to $2 million that we've talked about. Something very important here. Ohio, it's estimated that about 1,400 small businesses will qualify for funding with this SBA system. This is interesting statistic because it's the first time a state has referenced that, look, a lot of businesses are not going to qualify for SBA. That is the reality. If you're in that bucket, again, give us a call, 877-600-2487, creditsuite.com/get funding to get approved. Beyond SBA loans, beyond SBA disaster loans, there's a lot of other funding that may work for you right now beyond that. That's way easier to qualify for than SBA loans. As you're seeing here with Ohio, Ohio has way more than 1,400 businesses, right? But they're saying such a small percentage are going to qualify for SBA loans that maybe only 1,400 businesses will even qualify for these SBA loans. So don't think that SBA loans are the end-all, be-all answer. A lot of you aren't going to qualify. That's okay. There's a lot of other funding that you may qualify for out there. Just give us a ring or go online to get approved, and we'll talk to you about that. But again, SBA disaster funds, you are eligible in Ohio to apply, but just like anywhere else, only a small percentage of companies are actually going to be able to get approved. Okay, so the governor in Oklahoma received, I won't even get into some of that. They walked back and declared a state of emergency after a bunch of blowback. As a result, small businesses are now eligible to apply for emergency assistance with the SBA. So as of today, Oklahoma can actually come in and you can apply and you are eligible to get SBA loans. The nationwide SBA loans, not specifically statewide funding. They don't have statewide funding options, but you can apply to get the Maine loans through SBA. Oregon, they encourage participation in its work share program to minimize layoffs. The city of Portland provides support via Portland Community SOS, and businesses can offer gift certificates for sale online at the site for free as well. Okay, so there's some really cool resources and some different things happening in Oregon that we've not seen happen anywhere else. So if you're in that state, a couple links that are definitely worth checking out. Now in Pennsylvania, okay, they are doing a lot of interesting things as well. Okay, so the Keystone State's main economic response is to direct businesses to the Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority to get low interest loans. So they do have a local solution if you're in Pennsylvania to not just get the SBA loans nationwide, but to actually get state-specific funding through their Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority. Okay, another suggestion was the Department of Community and Economic Development and their working capital loans that could be of assistance to you as well. So they're giving you two solutions. The Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority, look into it, low interest loans. The other is the Department of Community and Economic Development. They have working capital loans that handle these kind of unprecedented changes in the economy as well. They're there's two very good resources for you to get local loans if your business is in Pennsylvania. So when it comes to Rhode Island, the SBA announced it is offering low-interest federal disaster loans for working capital to Rhode Island. So they are approved. You are able to apply for national disaster relief loans through SBA if you're in Rhode Island. For businesses, municipalities, K through 12, and other entities, Microsoft is providing 6 months of Office 365 tools for free to enable remote collaboration, file sharing, and video conferencing. They're also offering free assistance to set up these tools. So some cool things happening in Rhode Island. Not that a free subscription to 365 Microsoft is going to help you a tremendous amount, but at least there's some things that are happening there for you as well. And again, they are directing you to come in and get the regular federal disaster loans from SBA in Rhode Island. Okay, South Carolina. A lot of things happening here as well. For restaurants, the Department of Health and Environmental Control will not be conducting routine inspections. However, they will come and provide a non-graded evaluation and consultation upon request. Okay, South Carolina small businesses are eligible at this time for the disaster relief funds that come directly from SBA, but no state-specific funding that's taking place yet in South Carolina. South Dakota, the governor is working with SBA to obtain access to the disaster relief loans, but not yet there. So you soon will be able to apply for national SBA the disaster loan program, but not as of yet. So that will happen, but it has not happened yet. Tennessee, somebody's already given me a shout out saying that they are from Tennessee. Okay, so one part of the declaration of emergency in Tennessee is that it allows the construction of temporary healthcare structures in response to this. It also permits the waiver of certain regulations on child care centers, and the governor has applied for Tennessee to be eligible for these disaster relief loans, but at the time of writing this, they have not been approved. Remember, we will update this on our blog, okay? So that being said, you actually can come in and you are able to come in and be able to see as of Friday, and I just heard from my content team, it looks like Friday, which would be Friday the 27th of March, we will have a blog post that has this information on it. That blog post we will continuously update. So if any of this information changes as of Friday, that information on that blog post is going to change. So if you go to creditsuite.com/blog, find the blog post that will come up in 2 days from now, March 27th of 2020, then you will be able to get a state-by-state update of where you are. But at this point, from when we wrote this, Tennessee is not eligible to yet be able to get SBA loans, although they have applied. Okay, in Texas, okay, certain trucking regulations are being suspended to allow for easier delivery of supplies. We've already seen this before in another state where the load restrictions were increased or removed. So if you're carrying loads as a transportation trucker of emergency supplies, for example, you can have a heavier weight than you could typically. Okay, the governor has requested eligibility for these loans, but has not yet been approved, and they soon will be if not already. Okay, so SBA loans you are able to get from Texas, but they don't have any state-specific funding as of yet. But Utah does. The government included the Salt Lake Chamber on the Utah Coronavirus Task Force to ensure the business community is considered throughout the current situation. Okay, a lot of things are happening, from ski slopes being closed. Utah small businesses are eligible for the Maine SBA loans. You are eligible for the disaster relief loans from SBA. The city of Ogden has 0% loans up to $10,000 available for small businesses if you're in that city. Terms are 10 years with up to 12-month deferral on payment. So that's a really good way to go, but it's not necessarily statewide. It's only citywide. And keep in mind, this will continue to develop. A lot of cities within states will bring out their own relief plans, so that's why you want to keep track of our blog post and keep track of what's going on in your city, because there may be citywide kind of financing available like you're seeing here in Ogden, where you can get 0% loans for up to $10,000 with them. Now in Vermont, the SBA will be able to provide economic injury disaster loans under their certification disaster. You can get approved for disaster loans through Vermont right now. The Agency of Commerce and Community Development is looking for data on impacts in a lot of these different areas as well. So they already are on it to do research and have a task force, so they may be in the future releasing loans that are specific in the state, but not as of yet. They are recommending you go through the Maine SBA system. Okay, so contact the Vermont State Business Development Center for a disaster recovery guide. But again, no state-specific financing that we've seen in Vermont as of yet. In Virginia, regional workforce teams will be activated to support employers that slow or cease operations. Employers who do slow or cease operations will not financially be penalized for an increase in workers requesting unemployment benefits like they normally are. And the governor is authorizing rapid response funding through the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act for employers eligible to remain open during this emergency. Funds may be used to clean facilities and support emergency needs. So there is an option there. Okay, you need to look into the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act in Virginia. They are relying on that already existing act and funds to be able to fund Virginian businesses that are hurt during this time. So make sure you check that resource out if you are currently in Virginia. Washington, D.C. announced that SBA has accepted them. Declaration of emergency. So you can get disaster relief loans in Washington, D.C. D.C. businesses can start applying right now. Now, while the SBA directly administers the loan program, the Department of Small and Local Business Development, led by Director Christy Whitfield, will work with SBA on behalf of the District of Columbia. Bottom line, if you're in Washington, D.C., you're going to be tapping into the nationwide SBA disaster relief loans. They don't have anything specific for you in your state. Now, the Washington Department of Revenue can work with impacted companies that request an extension in tax filing. So a lot of these states are doing this, giving you longer time to be able to file taxes, giving you a longer time to actually be able to have any kind of tax penalties. The Washington State Department of Commerce's Export Assistance Team Division can help companies identify alternative markets and provide firms with step vouchers to defray the cost of trade show or trade mission fees, airfare, interpreter and translation services, business matchmaking, export training programs, and more. So they do have something interesting through the Washington State Department of Commerce's Export Assistance if you deal with exports in that state that may be able to actually help you. Okay, West Virginia. Okay, their Secretary of State offices throughout the state will not serve walk-in business and licensing customers at this time. All the services can be completed online though. Okay, so again, not a lot going on there, but West Virginia can apply for the SBA nationwide disaster loan. So you are eligible if you're in West Virginia to be able to get the Maine SBA loans that we've talked about throughout today. So Wisconsin, the governor worked with the U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin to help secure federal funding to support efforts for this. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention announced that Wisconsin will be receiving more than $10 million to support response and prevention efforts. But again, no statewide funding here. If you are in Wisconsin, you are going to have to qualify for an SBA disaster loan. They don't have any kind of specific remedies for the state as of now. Now, Wyoming suggests small business owners apply with SBA for low interest rate loans. That means they are not offering anything specific to them. You've got to go through the Maine SBA system. They also suggest talking to bankers to see if short-term financial arrangements can be made. Still, Wyoming, not really helpful. Entrepreneurs can talk to Wyoming Small Business Development Center Network staff member for non-technical advice. So Wyoming, they are directing you to SBA system for their disaster relief loans versus offering any kind of state-specific funding there as well. And federally, okay, currently the federal response is being drafted and debated. We've already seen this. They just approved as of today a new plan with $1 trillion plus of relief package. I'm not here to get into all the specifics of that, but from what I've read, it looks like each individual in the United States that's an adult that earns like less than $95,000 a year, don't hold me to that, because that was what I saw drafted before the final copy has come out, and nobody's seen the final copy from last time I checked the news. So it was under $95,000 a year in revenue or in income. You can qualify for $1,200, and you get $500 per child can be issued to you. So let's say you make $50,000 a year. You could get $1,200, and let's say you have two kids like I have two kids. Then you're able to then come in and get $500 a piece. So $500 for each kid's $1,000. total, if you have 2 kids, you have $1,200. You could get $2,200 from the government as a direct check that is going to be issued as part of the stimulus package that is coming out as well. And we've already seen that tax deadlines have been deferred as well, which is going to help us not have to worry about filing the taxes that we have. Okay, so a lot of things are happening here, right? There's a lot of different responses taking place. Okay, so if we can help you get any financing, let us know. Okay, we work with every legitimate type of financing that's out there, including SBA loans, including SBA disaster loans as well. We don't ever charge you fees for financing, ever. We don't roll in fees. We don't charge you application fees. The lenders we work with charge normal rates and fees. A lot of them are being more lenient during this time as well. And we do a lot of loan volume with our lenders, so we get discounted rates that we pass on to you. If you can't qualify for SBA, that's okay. We'll get you all the money you can get now, and then we'll map out a path so you can get the SBA loans. Again, our goal is that you just never need to look for funding. So if we can help you get money, if you want to know all the different options that you can get, including SBA disaster loans, including SBA loans, there's 2 things you can do. You can give us a ring at 877-600-2487, or you can go to creditsuite.com/get funding. Also, don't forget, as of March 27th, 2020, on our blog that you can get to at creditsuite.com/blog, we will have a blog post released on Friday with all the information I'm giving you. That will be kept up to date. So at least 3 times a week, we will go through and update the state-by-state information. So as things change in your state, that blog will give you real-time access to really what's going on. And you can also visit the top right of our page at creditsuite.com for free training. Yesterday, I went through over 25 different ways you can get financing for your business on YouTube. Facebook yesterday, I went over how to use vendors and the vendors you could use right now to start building business credit. So even if you don't have cash flow, even if you don't have credit, even if you don't have collateral, you can still get high limit business credit accounts here. And I gave you all that training yesterday on Facebook. Okay, later today, I'm going live on Facebook, or tomorrow, I'm going live on Facebook and Instagram with updates with SBA loans and everything you need to know there. So we are going live consistently with all kinds of information on ways you can get funding, whether it be state-specific funding or national funding. So all you have to do to keep tuned in to the different ways you can get money is go to creditsuite.com, check out the top right of our page. Okay, if you subscribe to our channels like YouTube, like our videos, those kind of things, then you'll get notified by YouTube when we go live and get access to the most up-to-date information to get funding for your business. Okay, so that being said, a lot of boring stuff here that a lot of you don't care about because you only care about one state, which is your own. But I hope you got a lot of good information to know what's happening in your different state. We talked about a lot of interesting things from Massachusetts to New York to Florida, all of which have loans from $50,000 to $75,000 that are interest-free that will help you during this time. So a lot of other options we talked about as well, including unemployment being easier for your team members, you not paying penalties, delays on taxes, not being able to get foreclosed on or not being able to get evicted in some state, utilities not allowed to shut off during this time. So a lot of things are happening state by state. Keep an eye on our blog post that'll be released March 27th, 2020. With more information up to date on the funding in your state. And again, if we can help you get funding, give us a ring, 877-600-2487, or visit us online, creditsuite.com/get funding. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll be live on YouTube next Tuesday, and we'll be diving into even more ways that you're able to get money for your business. We'll be talking about peer-to-peer lending and a lot of other ways that private investors will even give you money to make it through this, through venture capital and many other sources. That will be happening in the weeks to come. I am dedicated to giving you as many options to get money to make through this as possible. If we can help you along the way, give us a ring at 877-600-2487. Thanks everybody.